19mm socket, remove the tire. .32mm socket, we're going to remove the axle lock nut. So I'm going to spray up the ball joint, castle nut area, and the pinch bolt area. I want to make sure that's movable. You have to remove the lower sway bar link to the control arm. That's a 15mm socket, and the holding the back of this is a 9/16 wrench. Get a pair of locking pliers holding that link. So now to remove the lower ball joint pinch bolt in the knuckle. It's a 15mm socket, but it's threaded through the knuckle, so I pre-sprayed it. I'm going to give it a little bit of a chance and see if it comes back, if it starts to bolt out. If it's frozen, please use heat. These bolts are notorious for snapping and breaking inside the knuckle. And that is why, see all that rust and dry powder that came out? They get seized up inside there. Good luck, we got it. So we're going to remove the two bolts here and then the nut to the rear lower part of the lower control arm. And it is a 19mm socket. So now I'm going to take the front half of the lower control arm out of the control arm bushing, bolt, nut on the back. This is 17mm socket and a 17mm wrench. So now that I've got the pinch bolt out and I've got to pull this control arm out, the reason I'm not taking the castle nut off to take this down is because more than likely this house is going to get hammered on. And this steel control arm is hollow right here. So if I hammer on it to try to break that ball joint out, I'll probably do damage to it. So I'd rather just spread the knuckle right here with a cold chisel and then work that one way out. That'll keep that steel from pinching it. I'm going to spray it again and see if I can get that out. I'm just going to try to hammer this right here, see if we can get that ball joint out of that knuckle. With a pry bar, just going to wedge it in here, see if I can pull it out. Now I'm just going to grab my control arm firmly and I'm going to try to pull it out from this body stud. Maybe a pry bar to help. Couldn't hurt. So I'm going to hold on to it because I don't want it to fall out on the ground. There we go. Just so we had a little bit of pressure. There we go. So the control arm comes with the ball joint, but you can take it out. So I'm going to put the ball joint in before I put the lower control arm in. I put my cold chisel in there just to spread the ears of the knuckle so that I can get this to start and go right up in there. So what I did was I tapped it lightly, I didn't hammer on it, and it doesn't matter if it's seated because this bolt goes right into that groove and that will seat it into place. .50mm socket, and I'm just going to snug it up and torque it. Ball joint pinch bolt is a 50mm socket and torque is 35 foot-pounds. So it's easier if you put the ball joint in like that and just hand start the castle nut. That's all you gotta do. So we don't want that to fall out. Then we can line up the back 2 bushings here. That's going to give us a little bit of ease, like that, like that. And then I'm going to get a rubber mallet, and I'm going to hammer this up in this bin. Might get a pry bar and just put it between the subframe and this front bushing. That way we can pry it up. There you go. Just like that. That bolts through. So just put the nut on that bolt, snug it in place. Then I'm going to get the bracket and the 2 bolts and 1 nut for the back bushing here. That in place. Put the nut on first. Then I can use the bolts and line them up. So now we just gotta manipulate that link back in, just like that. Nut on. Get ready to tighten everything up. So now to tighten the castle nut on the ball joint, 17mm socket, and we're going to snug it up. And you want to make sure that you can get the cotter pin in right there. Now we're going to install the cotter pin right through the line hole. Bring that over. I snap that off right there. And then cut that there. Bring this up. So we're going to snug these rear control arm bushing bolts and nut. 19mm socket. This is just a bracket, so you just want to tighten it up. And this is torqued to 70 foot-pounds. Now we're going to snug up the front control arm bushing bolt, 17mm socket and wrench. And then we're going to torque that to 70 foot-pounds. And last, put the link on. And torque this to 33 foot-pounds.